What's up, friends? We're gonna have some fun today. It's that time of the month, and that time of the month means party time. Party time in that we are going to review all of the changes this season. Alright, sorry. Took me a second there to get out of that. Yes, I have lots of tabs. That's how I organize my life. Deal with it. Alright, so I try to always do this, reading through it with as little foreknowledge as possible. This season was a little bit hard because there was a big leak, but I tried to ignore those leaks. I like to just approach this, let's get into a new season. Let's try to build some hype for a new season. We really need it, usually, because people get worn out, and the meta usually devolves into some type of ultra-controlled deck that you see all the time. And last season, that was either line pockets or it was precision strike. And that's basically all we queued into this last week. I played so many games trying to record content for you guys, and it was just a miserable experience. I couldn't get wins with decks that were creative. You really needed to play within those two archetypes and those two archetypes alone. Monsters sometimes could get you a win, but there was so much control against monsters that it really wasn't effective anymore. Anyway, self-eaters were kind of cool. They immediately became useless after about 3 days. So let's see if the devs have listened to us and if they care about us being able to have an enjoyable experience playing their game. That's what we're going to find out today. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to face the right direction. I have to do this backwards from where I'm actually looking, so, it's a little bit weird for me, but I love it. It's so much fun. Alright, so update 9.3 introduced a lot of balance changes. We'll determine whether or not it's a lot, but you can say it however you want. Adjustments across all factions. Other highlights of this patch include the Gascon later model rework, much needed. His model was pretty crap. And the return of the Battle of Yaruga Bridge board and contracts. Awesome reference here from Thronebreaker. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. Thronebreaker is an awesome insulated game where, there's no PvP or any of that element to it. Just really good first-person player game where you get to really experience Gwent. And get a whole bunch of free cards in Gwent if you're a new player. It's really kind of nice for that. And the iOS or Android versions are the cheapest. But the PC version is really usable as well. And you can probably find it on G2A or something like that for relatively cheap. Alright, new features. Reintroduction of the contracts. Gascon leader will be granted a new title, avatar, and card back that is unlockable by completing contracts connected with playing with him. He's a lot of fun, but I think it needs some more work. Neutral. Arrakis Venom. Provisions changed from 7 to 5. Fine, this is the one that does 3 damage to 3 units next to each other. More removal becoming cheaper is not really what we want, in my opinion. Elf and Onion Soup changed from 6 to 5. Really, this should be 4, in my opinion. It's such a gamble, and you have no idea what you're going to get, and it's still gold. So, Shoop Stay Off changed from 13 to 12. He probably need to go to 11 to be playable. Still not going to be playable. Vigo's Muzzle changed from 12 to 11. Still trash card. Why are you locking something that you're stealing? Makes no sense. Dragon's Dream provision changed from 11 to 10. Tris Butterflies 11 to 9. Synthesis Blaze, that's the one with 5 charges. Zeal provision changed from 11 to 10, so she now meets her provision cost with a little bit of removal. So making here, and all of these are pretty much removal. Ragnarok. Garrison is the one that boosts by 10 to 9. Kind of stupid card, continues to be stupid. Primordial Dow provision changed from 10 to 9, so he now meets his provision with the shield. So he's a reasonable choice if you're looking for an extra shield on the board. Sultan Scoundrel, provision changed from 10 to 8. I think this is a big change. Scoundrel is the one that does doo-doo, and doo-doo can either boost all the units on your row or damage all the units on an opponent's row. Colossal Efreet, power change from 4 to 5. Cool, nice little buff for him, but kind of worthless removal otherwise. Gontro Dim, power change from 5 to 6. Stupid removal still. He has to grant the Doom, stick on the board, and then do the removal. I don't know. I don't love him. Vivian Oriel ability is no longer limited to units. That'll be interesting. And then Manticore Venom provision changed from 9 to 8. Trial of Grasses provision changed from 8 to 6. This is a huge boost. We're going to check this out with Skellige next week with Elf and Onion Soup. Count Caldwell provision changed from 7 to 6. He's the one that's 10 points. He goes to the whichever row has the highest unit. So he could be good in like a dominance deck maybe. We'll have to check it out. Tempest, provision changed from 6 to 5. Okvis changed from 5 to 6. So he sticks a little bit better now. He's the one that damages all enemy units by 1. Redea, provision changed from 12 to 11. I think she's just to be in line with Shoop, but still not super playable in my opinion. She's like, Shoop and Redea are good in some seasonal decks. That's probably where they'll see play, and that's about it. Alright, monsters, Ruhin. He's the one when you eat him, he comes back again. They changed him from demon to insectoid, so he does get some synergy with like Koshé and not so much Koshé, but Kiki Queen. So it could be cool. Desert Banshee now changed from 5 to 4. That makes a lot more sense for her. She's the one who is the first one spawned from Haunt. She gets boosted by 1 point every time you play a Death Wish character, and she has 1 consume on order. Current Theod Arfanel can now only counter monster units with provision costs of 10 or less. This is really to get around Bloody Mistress. Bloody Mistress changed from 10 to 11. This is a stupid change here because she wasn't really great, especially by the end of the season. She wasn't getting very much play at all. But now Karen Thier can't be used for Koshé. Though I do think Mamuna is still 10, but we'll see in the rest of this. Mamuna changed from 10 to 11, so no longer can be used for Mamuna. So Mamuna could have been used, but no longer. Self-Eater was worthless, can continue being worthless even with that buff. Bloody Mistress nerf is, again, beyond the pale in my opinion. Monsters started the season strong, and the patch notes usually address the first 2 weeks of the season and never the last 2 weeks of the season. And it makes no sense to me, because that's when people stop playing the game. They don't stop playing in the beginning. They like to come up with new solutions to very basic card decks like V or these point slam options like Gurney. And then those point slam options kind of dwindle, and it just becomes hyper control with a couple point slam cards like Gourd or Cleaver. And that's where we were this last season. That's where we were the season before that, the season before that, the season before that, the season before that, the season before that. And we continue to go in this cycle, and the devs never addressed those last 2 weeks. And it is what it is. Anyway, Kikimura Worker armor changed from 4 to 3 because it was so buff before. I don't know. Redanian Elite is basically like the same card, right? It's boosted, so I guess you could use Yerden on it. Udalric on Brookvar now has Warrior category. Fine. Uncrate Blacksmith changed from 5 to 4. Armor changed from 1 to 0. He got a boost. He got a buff before after 1 season, and I said then, as I say now, it was in haste. I think that he does the boost instead of heal like Joanna, but it'll be good to have him playable again. I think he's a good card. Heimei Spear Maiden power changed from 5 to 6. She needed some love. Now she has some higher hit points, so she can take more damage and get more heals. Have Troy Singer, I think, will work a little bit better with that. Harald on Crate now damages itself by 2 instead of Revived Bronze Warrior. Dev comment, this ability is more lore friendly for Harald and less likely to cause technical issues. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like lazy development to me. I don't know that it's lore friendly that he damages himself instead of one of his warriors. But, whatever. Crow Clan Preacher, provision cost changed from 5 to 4. Heimei Scald ability now locked to the range row. Dev comments, players can now play Scald in melee row if they are worried that otherwise they would be forced to discard a good card. I do think this is a nice change. We asked for this for a while. I think that's probably one of the best ones we've seen so far. Sonrig Torsik, power change from 8 to 7. That'll be good for beginners. And Judah Andamun changed from 8 to 7. So, good for her. I think that puts her more in line with Procession of Penance, for example. I think I'd like to see her change from 8 to 6, just so she's perfectly in line with Procession. And there are a lot of 12 for 6s. I think Nilfgaard's Golem is also the same way. So he's also now 6. So, some people might complain about this for Iced, but Iced has not been playable for a couple of seasons. Maybe this will bring him back. We'll have to try him out. Northern Realms, Kuin changed from 7 to 6. Still a trash card. Takes way too much setup. in a perpetual meta of removal, and you just buffed a bunch of removal neutral cards. He needs to have a shield. Odrin, provision cost changed from 7 to 6. Nobody's going to play Odrin. Warfare still sucks ass. It really gets... Warfare is so bad. Drog ability change to Zeal Order. Transform all units on allied road into Cadwani Revenants without changing their power. Dev comment. Players will now be able to choose a row in which they want to transform their humans into Revenants. That's boss. Really cool. You can play him onto a different row now. Also, it's a Zeal Order that can be refreshed. Think about that, people. Viraxis now looking like an interesting option. You could drop Viraxis, refresh the ability, and then convert Viraxis into a Revenant. Because you know what every archetype needs now? All the factions need a really strong control deck. That's how we should play the game. Ignore how we describe Northern Realms as a deck that gets out of control if you don't stop it in time. Yeah, meaningless now. You just play down a whole bunch of point slam cards that boost each other, and then you flip those all into Revenants and get that removal with Philip of Blind Fury. Probably bring that back. Mad Cayenne, his Death Blow ability now resets his power way better. He was utterly useless. So now he's possibly useful. I don't know. We'll see. But out of control boost is just kind of lame. Way too slow. Knighthood provision change from 6 to 5. That does like the random 6 points of boost on a row. Still shitty. Rethink your life. Botchling change from 8 to 7. Fine. Pretty mediocre card. I think that puts it in line with Dunny, and they basically have around the same, reactions, except that Dunny gets immunity when he transforms, or Urcheon of Erlenwald, whatever you want to call him. Cadwani Revenant provision changed from 5 to 4. So Drog gets this cool buff revision, and Cadwani Revenants get a little bit of a buff here. To say it changed from 12 to 10. We made a really cool card. Why won't you love it? Well, why don't you make Northern Realms playable? It's unplayable. They're unplayable. Mages are humans, by the way, so you could use their abilities and then reset them with Tisea and then flip them into Revenants, I guess. It's a choice you could make. Scoia'tael. I'm going to say what's not said here. There are basically no changes. This addressed none of where we ended up at the end of the last season. Do you even play your own game? That's like legitimately my question here. If there's a leak about patch notes coming out 2 weeks before the patch actually happens, you're only taking half of the season into account, and you are ignoring what happens every single season. We play something that looks cool, that we know is a bunch of points at the beginning, that we know can only get value at the beginning of the meta, because the end of the meta is always hyper control. That's how it's been for over a year. Seriously. At a minimum, Scoia'tael needs to see Precision Strike get a nerf. I mean, at a minimum, that's what should happen here. Orbs should really get reworked, if we're being honest with each other. I just... Panther, provision cost changed from 5 to 4. Stupid card, still not going to get played. Dryad Ranger, the damage from the deployability changed from 1 to 2. Again, nobody really cares. She's the one that poisons. You don't ever play her for the damage anyway. She usually pings off a shield at best. Ithleen Eggly changed from 5 to 6. That's not what we want from Ithleen. Ithleen's entire purpose is to boost a card in your hand. We don't want her playing for value. We would love to see her power change from 5 to 1 and her provisions change from 10 to 6. Come on. Cirsa, provision changed from 8 to 7. Still a stupid card. Part of an Harmony archetype that has been dead for over a year when you nerfed it into the freaking ground. Unplayable. Especially when you line up in a mirror against Precision Strike and all your stuff gets removed constantly. And then they throw down a 22-point gourd. Keep up with that, Harmony. I have feelings. Nilfgaard, collect a friend. Provision change from 5 to 6. Power change from 5 to 6. Please play this card that we reworked a little bit that's still very trash. No, we're not going to. Menagerie Keeper. Provision change from 5 to 4. Nobody cares about that card. Vivienne de Tabri. Provision change from 9 to 8. I think this is in line with Vivienne Oriel. I don't know if this is leading to something with her. I don't know. It'd be cool if they did something like a new Blood and Wine analysis or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since Crimson Curse expansion. Syndicate, Damnation. The targets no longer need to be adjacent. That's boss. But why are we buffing removal for Syndicate? Tin Boy, provision change from 12 to 11. Buffing removal for Syndicate. Savola's Frightener, changed from 11 to 12, so he gets a nice boost. Sausage Maker fee changed from 5 to 3. That's cool. I really like Sausage Maker. We got a lot of play with him a couple of seasons ago. I think he's kind of an interesting card. He has that feel, gives him resilience. He also has an Intimidate engine. He's really quite good. And I think that this makes more sense than necessarily like buffing him by provision reduction. So I like this change. With Tin Boy and Savala's Frightener, we're going to have to check this out and as part of the Tributes leader, see if we can get that to work maybe with Fallen Rayla. Walter Veritas, provision change from 9 to 8. I know you want to see yourself get played more, Slama, but that is not going to be the way to do it. It needs to be a card from your deck. Getting any Syndicate card whatsoever is pretty stupid. This is a card that you would imagine seeing get played in an Assimilate deck, not in a Syndicate deck. So, go home, rethink your life. Pugo Boombreaker changed from 10 to 11. Cool, fine. I think it's more in line with all those other cards we were mentioning before. Judah, the Golem, Imperial Golem. Notably, Northern Realms has none of those cards. Lyrian Scytheman maybe is like the analog, but not really. You want that high base power that comes out and then is reduced by some other interaction, right? So... and if it was something that was like remove like 12 points, damage self by number of unboosted units in your deck, then you could see that get some synergy with like Eastred and Erland. That would be a cool card. Love to see that. Probably not going to happen because why would we give Northern Realms Point Slam? Why would we make them playable? Far be it from me. Game fixes. Huge, and then Mutant Killer, provision change from 5 to 4, stupid card, don't worry about it. Huge half of a card art will no longer display over the board sometimes. That happened all the time. Practice makes perfect, especially on mobile. This is like a huge mobile problem. Practice makes perfect, Ancient Fogler, no trigger sound effects and boosting by 0. Brokvar Hunter and Elven Swordmaster now react correctly to units played from opponent's graveyard. Bridge Troll can now be a target of own Death Wish effects and triggered by Urn of Shadows. Catwatcher Mentor now correctly counts face down cards when played. Corrected the Berserker tooltip, which mentioned base power instead of power. V and Detlef. Higher Vampires Death Wish effects no longer ignore the Doom status. Doldu Lock's Order ability will no longer ignore units with immunity. The Ned Turncoat cooldown now reacts correctly to more than one instance of spying. Rico Meyersdorf can no longer drop to 0 power when the enemy unit is killed on deploy. Ignatia Hale's tribute cost will now correctly update in the tooltip. Confession Extractor now has video effects indicating the source of the damage from the graveyard. Self-Eater now sets its base power rather than damaging it when using its order ability. Isengrim's Council will no longer terminate the match in a draw if there are no valid cards in the deck to choose from. Practice Makes Perfect tooltip correctly reflects the target allied Bronze Mage. Blah, blah, blah. Artod Terranova's tooltip reflects the spawned unit is a base copy of the target. Udalric on Brokvar's tooltip now reflects that Zeal can be gained on deploy. And adjust the tooltips for Bloody Mistress and Garnicore to reflect that they both keep their power upon transforming the match the changes from the 9.206 hotfix. A couple of things I want to say here. This is a lot of game fixes. Okay? This is a lot. And not all of these are for cards that are brand new. Like, I'll give you some leeway on Bloody Mistress and Gurney and on Self-Eater Confession Extractor isn't really even a fix. Like, I think that some people just wanted this. It's a helpful suggestion. I actually don't mind that it just procs from graveyard. You should just know that it's there, and you should know to check your graveyard. You got time. Do it. And Ignatius Hail. But like Dodu Lock, Vian Detlef, Berserker, Catwitcher Mentor, Bridge Troll, Brokvar Hunter, and Elven Swordmaster. These are all, I feel like there's a lot more bugs in the last few months. And I just have a hard time ignoring the correlation between the bugs, the slapdash patches that only focus on what's happened in like the first week. This was the first time we got a hotfix in a long time. Just feels like Gwent's getting ignored. I don't really have a good excuse for why, but just doesn't feel like the same amount of attention is being paid to the game as was paid in other patches. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Am I way out in left field? Did I miss something that was like, oh yeah, we all wanted that. Give it to us. I don't think I did, but if you feel like I'm wrong, let me know. I still don't see Tunnel Drill getting Rolock. Something the community has been asking for a long time. Show up, put up or shut up. That's all for today. Let me know what you guys think. So grateful to have all of you as part of the Gone Gwenting family. I'll talk to you guys on the flippity flop. Good luck on the path. Have some fun and keep on Gwenting. Bye for now.